phone.
We're
like
live.
I don't, huh? Like the
We're
NFC. Oh, like the NFC.
I lied.
Keep talking. I'm just letting you know we're live.
Oh yeah. So like I don't use like the NFC. I don't use the finger scanner thing. I mean, there's a lot of things I wouldn't use. I just wanted it for the camera. And if I could have gotten a phone with the same quality of camera and the same speed, I would have bought that if it was cheaper.
Why not just buy a camera?
Because the best camera you own is the one that you have on you at all times, typically, and it's invariably going to be a smartphone.
Okay, no, because you made it seem like you don't want to use it for anything except for camera. So
No, but that was my overriding thing, like because I have a kid, so I'm just going to inevitably take a shot while we're strolling about, and I'd rather have something that looks decent than a blurry smudge. Because these are the precious moments that I will make a giant photo album with. Oh, your dad didn't. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm thankful that this technology wasn't around when I was. I would not want hundreds of pictures of me. I'm glad we can only find like 5. There's about 5 pictures of me when I was little, and I'm okay with that.
The photos of me as a kid are embarrassing enough without having hundreds.
These kids are gonna grow up and they're gonna resent you and they're gonna hate you all.
They will have a better grasp of their lives.
They'll have a different approach. You're right.
Yeah, but they will. Yeah, I'm playing.
It's interesting because like most people in our age group, I have a few photos of me as a child, as a baby. A majority of them, I was an infant, but there's a period between grade school, like basically junior high and high school. There's no photos of me. It's just like an empty period in Roger's life, and it picks up again.
No, I have that. I have that too. I have a freshman picture and then nothing until graduation day, and so I don't even remember what I looked like in between. You know, I think I was hot, but I'm not sure.
I have my graduation photo, my grad picture, but that's it. I literally have no other photos up until college. Like there's an 8-year gap in photography of photographs of me. It's the weirdest thing.
Was that my phone? It's not supposed to be making any noise.
Was that your phone?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to mute this darn thing. Okay, there it is. Here's do not disturb. It's 2 sliders. See, I just learned something on the phone. There's 2 slider switches. I've been wondering for a while.
What's the other one for?
One just puts it in vibrate, do not disturb mode, and then you go up and it's completely silent.
Oh, I see. You got 2 different settings. That's kind of cool, actually. Once you know that.
You're right. I actually like that.
Having a do not disturb slide.
I wonder if there's a phone where you can download the contents onto a SDXC card and then wipe it. So when you cross the border and you give it to someone, like to the border customs or whatever, they can go through your phone. You're not worried. And then when you're done with it, you just pull the card and you load everything back up.
I've heard of something similar to that, where you can hide the contents of the phone.
But like you could just physically take it away from the phone, stick in your sock or something.
All righty, you guys ready?
Yep.
Hold on, let me just get a drink from the coldest water bottle. Not sponsored.
It says
that water is cold. Even after 24 hours, it is still cold.
Cold, not good enough for Lamarr Wilson. He only drinks the coldest.
The only, I swear it's not sponsored. This is funny to do.
Yeah, let me know when to pop in. Just like
I'll just introduce you when we start having the phone conversation. So
okay.
I actually did need the water. I feel better now.
Okay, good. Let's roll. Here we go. Want someone to spend hundreds of hours reading tech news and tell you the most important stuff? Support Daily Tech News Show at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, February 10th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Jen Cutter had her power cut up there in Canada, so she's not with us today, but very happy to have Lamarr Wilson, host of the YouTube channel Lamarr Wilson, with us today. How's it going, Lamarr?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for rolling me out of bed to to do the show. I will never forget you for this.
Wait, forget or forgive?
Either one.
I couldn't quite catch that. Also, Len Peralta's not with us today, unfortunately. He had a show to go to. It's a family thing, apparently. Dinner and a show. I don't know. He and his wife actually want to celebrate on Valentine's Day weekend or something. Whatever. I don't get it. But he did do the art for the show already. So we will have Len Peralta art to show you today. Really? Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Meanwhile, we got some tech news to look at. So let's get into the top stories. WhatsApp is taking its two-step verification feature out of beta. Everybody can get it now. In the latest version of WhatsApp, you just go to Settings, choose Account. You'll see an option for two-step verification. Choose that and tap Enable. The way the system works is it generates a 6-digit passcode that you'll need to remember or write down and put in a secure location. And you'll need to enter that if you switch to using WhatsApp on a new phone. So let's say you pull your SIM card out, put it in another phone. When you set up WhatsApp, you'll have to enter that 6-digit code that time. WhatsApp will ask for the code periodically, even if you don't switch phones, just to help you remember it. You can disable it. You're in the app. So if someone were to get a hold of your phone, they could disable it. You can also have it email a backup email that you can choose to give when you set up, and that will disable it as well. It's different, though. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It is two-step verification because usually the two factors you need are something you know and something you have. The way WhatsApp has worked up till now is the phone that WhatsApp is on is the something you have. That's how it's verified itself. It said, we're on this phone with this phone number. So now they're adding the something you know, which is the 6-digit code.
Okay. Yeah, it always, I mean, I'm glad they have this feature. I don't use WhatsApp personally, but it's one of the biggest apps out there. It just, I guess it's just still puzzling to me in 2017 where this is news that we're still trying to get companies to get two-step.
Really? No, preach it. I mean, you're absolutely right. So many of these companies should have done it already. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So glad they have it. And I hope people. Now here's the question: is it going to be enabled by default, or will people have to turn it on?
No, you'll have to go in and turn it on. Okay. And like I said, there's a few quirks about it. You can choose to give an email or not. If you don't give an email, you won't have an easy time recovering that code if you forget it. So then there's the question of, well, are people going to use the same code they use for other things? And that's less secure. And of course, as I mentioned, if somebody gets a hold of your phone, the second factor won't prevent them from getting in and turning off the second code. So it's not a perfect system. Nothing is, but it's certainly better than not having it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Facebook says it will provide information for an audit of its advertising by media regulator, the Media Rating Council. It's an independent regulator, not a government issue. Facebook will hand over data, including the exact time in milliseconds that an ad was displayed on Facebook and Instagram. And if you wonder why this is happening, you'll recall that back in September, Facebook had said that a metric for average user time on videos was artificially or accidentally inflated, as it only counted videos viewed for more than 3 seconds. So Facebook really trying, because they're making lots of money. They've got strong user growth. They've got strong advertising sales, and they really want to dispense with this notion that their metrics are not reliable. So they are easily willing to let somebody come in and audit it. They must be confident that it's going to pass, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, look, I'm not saying they want to become the next YouTube, but they certainly are taking video seriously now. I mean, they're even going to roll out an app on Apple TV if it's not there already. So they're really taking this seriously, and it's good for the transparency because they get a lot of views on things, and I always wonder what counts as a view. Is it me floating by really fast? Do they catch that as a view? How many seconds, whatever? And so this independent regulator would definitely set the matter straight so we know for sure what's going on.
And they have said they want to make an effort to get creators, and they use that word, which is a YouTube word, to get on their platform, make short form video. I've heard reports of 10 minutes or less kind of videos, Those are the kinds of things you do on your channel, Lamarr. Is it tempting at all for you and folks who do that?
It is. They actually we connected through email a couple of days ago. I had spoken with them actually a year ago this month about their live program, and I never really got into that. So we're in talks again to just converse. Because look, as a creator, I never want to be tethered to one platform. Putting all your eggs in one basket is never a good idea. And so, the more possibilities, the better for the business. So absolutely.
No, it makes perfect sense to want to put things in various places. The question that people are going to have is, are folks going to watch this on Facebook? And if so, how is that watching going to differ? Because it is a different experience to use Facebook than to use YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to put you in a weird position because I
know
go ahead. There's things that you haven't even thought about or decided, but have you thought about yet the different, like, would you do different kinds of content for Facebook and would you try to target that, or is it more of a replication of what you do? I'm just curious.
No, there's a couple things that I've thought about. I've thought about splitting my content on YouTube, where YouTube is just the showcasing of products, and maybe Facebook is the lifestyle behind the scenes, who Lamarr is. He's using the products in a lifestyle manner, and because that tends to be more long form. And since they're mentioning they're looking at 10 minutes or more, that might be a good thing to post on Facebook. I haven't seen that kind of content be successful yet because I haven't really seen that many examples of it. It's usually quick bites of news or funny things, but that was
the text on screen, right? That's a
big
thing you see on Facebook all the time.
Right. So that, again, my idea may not work, but that was at least what I was thinking first. Just instead of trying to make two channels on YouTube, provide two different experiences of me on two different platforms, and people can just watch which one they want to watch.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The unboxing video goes to YouTube because that's what people are used to. The Lamarr in the car, sort of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
By the way, we're going to talk about your Lamarr in the car video with the OnePlus 3T, but you yelling at the Mercedes and like getting like legitimately excited about the parking spot, love that kind of stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Xiaomi announced its Redmi 4A phones are being assembled in Indonesia. That allows them to sell them at Aerophone stores in Indonesia. Phones sold in Indonesia must be made up of 30% local content. This is similar to a rule they have in India. In addition, the Wall Street Journal reports that Xiaomi is developing its own smartphone chip called the Pinecone, which could come in the Mi 6 later this year. Wall Street Journal reports Xiaomi acquired mobile processor technology from Datang subsidiary Leadcore Technology through a shell company called Beijing Pinecone Electronics. So they were trying to hide the fact that they were acquiring it by using that shell company, but Wall Street Journal has sources that kind of busted through that. And this is something Samsung has been developing its own chips. Obviously, Samsung also is a chip maker. That's easier for them. Apple, of course, bought a fabless semiconductor design company, and they famously have been designing their own chips. This is the kind of thing that could eat into Qualcomm's market.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about Xiaomi. I mean, every time I'm on your show or listen to your show, they come up, and I'm pretty ignorant about how big they are or how successful.
They used to be bigger. They used to be the leading smartphone maker in China, and they've fallen. We just had that story a few days ago, as they are trying to increase their retail channels because they used to just do flash sales online. They've tried to expand into India, where they're actually doing okay. They have been selling in markets in Indonesia, but they had to jump through some hoops to keep doing that and to be able to get their phones into retail stores in Indonesia. They definitely had to do this assembly. And you're seeing Apple do the same thing. Apple's talking about having their phones assembled by Wistron in India so that they can qualify for local retail sales. Essentially, what Xiaomi is doing is the same thing as Apple, except they're based in China, Apple's based in the United States, but they're saying, we have these phones that people have brand loyalty to. We just need to figure out how to get them into people's hands.
Okay. Do they have their own OS, or are they relying on Google?
Yeah, they have their own branded OS. And so, related to that chip side of things, it gives them even more control over what the phone does.
I think that's exciting. I mean, why have, this could sound a little controversial, but like, we know why have American companies necessarily taking over there. If they can develop their own great things for their for their own region.
Oh yeah, Huawei is doing it. Oppo is doing it. ZTE is doing it. A lot of the ascendant smartphone brands are coming from that region of the world.
Yeah, I think that's excellent.
Yeah. And Xiaomi keeps making noises about wanting to come into the US. There's a lot of barriers to that, and we will see if they actually make it. But that would be one of the markets it needs to bust into to be able to keep growing as well.
Probably political barriers, I'm thinking.
Well, there's that. There's several. There's logistical and political both. Wall Street Journal reports Samsung will launch the Galaxy S8 at an event in New York in March. The Guardian and VentureBeat had previously reported that the phone might be announced on March 29th and go on sale April 21st. Those dates have not been confirmed by Samsung. Galaxy S8 is expected to have two models with curved displays, rear-mounted fingerprint sensors, thin bezels, headphone jack, a virtual assistant called Bixby, which will not actually be built on the Viv Labs technology. It'd be an expansion of the S Voice services. Viv Labs were the co-founders of Siri, who were acquired by Samsung. So we may not see a product from them yet. That may be waiting for a future Samsung phone.
Yeah, I heard this is going to be a pretty hot phone. So I'm sorry. I couldn't. I had to.
Oh, I see what you did there. Let me note what you did.
Please note. No, I look. Companies make mistakes. I actually never even joked about it. And I'm really glad that Apple took the high road on that one too. So I'm excited that the Galaxies are always really cool phones. Like I really love the last Edge phone. It was like a really nice looking phone. So I'm hoping they bounce back. And I know this is not the Note series, but their name still got tarnished. So
no, it's a fair point, because I forget in my own personal bubble, because I make a great effort to separate the Note from the Galaxy so that I don't accidentally impugn the Galaxy S series for something that has been a problem in the Note series, because the Galaxy S series hasn't had any problems. But that's me, because I do the show. A lot of people out there just think, oh, it's Samsung. And it was the Samsung Galaxy Note. That was the official name of it. So a lot of people see Galaxy and they don't care if it says S8 at the end. So far, it does not seem to have impacted the S7 sales in nearly the numbers that people had expected. And this is going to be Samsung's big chance to say, hey, new feature, battery doesn't explode in these models.
Absolutely. So I do wish him the best. I was just playing.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Exeter M says, did you cover the Samsung battery fire? We did cover that, the Samsung battery factory fire. And we pointed out when we covered it previously that it was the waste disposal section of the Samsung SDI plant that had a fire. That section of the plant has had fires before. It's not unusual for waste disposal to have fires.
Sure.
It did not damage anything. There were no fatalities. And I did joke at the time that it could have been a bunch of disposed of Note 7 batteries that caused the fire, which may or may not be true, but it wasn't the factory. And I think a lot of headlines are saying it was the factory because, there was the waste disposal section located at the factory, but that makes it sound a lot worse than it was.
Well, it's a good headline. That's why they did that.
And finally, KGI Securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo reports that Apple will launch 3 new iPhones this year with wireless charging and OLED displays. Kuo reports that because of that wireless charging, the phone gets pretty hot, and Apple is going to add an additional graphite sheet for better thermal control. Ming-Chi Kuo has a pretty good record on these sorts of things. And while it's way early to start speculating on really what's going to be in the new iPhone, I think the idea of wireless charging being pioneered by Apple could be significant, because a lot of times when Apple adds a feature that other people have had, it starts to finally catch on and people start paying attention to it. You can say that's unfair or fair, but that seems to happen a lot. And the idea of this having a thermal issue, I think, raises some issues because of all of these thoughts of, what about batteries and thermal control and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. So I was looking at some of the comments on Mac Rumors about this, and it mirrored one of my comments in my head before you said that. It was like, meh. It's like, yeah, like how long has this been out? Like now they're getting it. It doesn't sound I guess it's because we're in a tech world, but wireless charging does not sound as exciting anymore. And then knowing Apple, they won't go with the standard everyone else has. So people who have wireless charging in their new cars. A lot of new cars are coming out with that. Who's to say they won't go with the same
what
standard.
Apple sometimes does, they don't always do this, but what they sometimes do is come up with an implementation that is different, that makes us go, oh, well, I didn't think wireless charging was that interesting, but now I do. And I'm not saying I know what that is, but I will say with the AirPods, the wireless charging of the AirPods, I didn't think was going to be that big of a deal. And I really like the way it's implemented, where I just pop them in the case and I don't have to think about them. Every so often the case gives me a red light and I plug it in. That happens maybe once a week for me. So it really has reduced my thinking about having to charge my headphones, which is great.
All right. Good stuff.
So we'll see. Hey, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in less than 10 minutes, actually we're shooting for 5 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right, so we talked a lot about phones here. Xiaomi is going to try to take control of more phones. We've got a hot new phone coming from Apple.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
And not thermally issued phone coming from Samsung. But the high-end phones, the big high-end smartphones, that's what everybody always talks about. What about the bargain phones? I actually have this conversation with a few different people in our analysts Slack. Those are the folks supporting us on Patreon at the $20 a month level, because they are saying, why should I spend all that money on a Google Pixel, on a Samsung Galaxy S8, on an iPhone, when I can get really good specs in a mid-range phone? Now, I know you've got a full discussion on your YouTube channel, but what was your impression of using the OnePlus 3T? Which, by the way, just became available again in the 128 gigabyte version. If you're looking to buy one, it was out of stock for a while. So the OnePlus 3T back in the news, because you can get that 128 gigabyte version for $479. How did it work for you, Lamarr?
Yeah, so this actually is the 128. I didn't even know until I looked it up that they had a difference. So I want to say I am a iOS user, and I mentioned in the video. I don't know how many Android phones I have used and had over the years, going back to the G1, and I was very impressed. First of all, just by how comfortable this was in the hand. Everything was fast. Like, when I tried Android maybe a year or so ago, it still was a little stuttering and hesitation. I saw none of that with this phone. And one of the biggest features, and I unfortunately forgot to mention because I was driving in that car in the video, was the dash charging. Now that's a big deal. The 30 minutes charge in the USB-C and you get a whole full day's power is crazy. Like, and you see more and more companies implementing that. Then Beats just implemented that with one of their headphones.
Yeah, that's super fast charging. Cool.
Yeah, and so I have no complaints. I like that the fingerprint sensor works almost as well as on iPhone. I'm glad that it's not a gimmick on the back. I just cannot stand the back.
I like the ones on the back.
You do?
Like
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a very traditional phone. Not that many frills, but I found it very comfortable to use. The camera was fine. I know it's not the best one out there, but everything ran fast. I think in part because 6 gigs of RAM. I mean, this has one of the latest processors. Is pretty fast on there, and it's just like the perfect phone. But here's the thing: when you mention high end and budget, I don't. Maybe it's just I didn't know the difference. I didn't look at $479 as budget. It seems like it's only
it's not low. It's like medium. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It seemed like it's only a couple $100 away from the Pixel. Well, actually, one of my commenters said this is just a cheaper Pixel, which I know is a little. I think you wrote in here what. Yes, this has USB 2. Pixel has USB 3.
The Google Pixel is $650 for the 64 or 32 gigabyte version.
The $200 more or so.
Compared to the $439 for the OnePlus 3T 64 gig. And for that extra $211, you get a little more storage. You get loads of bands. The Pixel is works everywhere in the world, whereas the 3T doesn't support US CDMA for instance.
Oh, so you cannot get on Sprint here.
Yeah, you can't get on Sprint with that. You can get on Verizon, but only partial connectivity. It's got the Pixel has a superior camera. It's They're both USB-C, but the Pixel lists USB 3. The OnePlus only USB 2. There's a few extra sensors in the Pixel, like a barometer, advanced haptics, etc. And then there's the design. You may look at the Pixel and think, oh, that's such a superior design, and maybe you think that of the Galaxy S8, etc. But yeah, you're right. I mean, these phones are very comparable, but you're saving $200 on one of them, and
I just lost your sound. Give me one moment.
Oh yeah, no worries.
You keep talking to the audience.
I think for $200, you may say the design or that worldwide compatibility is worth it. Like, I need those things, so I'm willing to spend that $200. But if you don't need those, if you don't value those, these phones compare very favorably. Roger Chang, our producer, has actually been looking for a phone for his wife to replace her old phone as well. How have you been approaching this?
So, the thing about phones typically is
to apologize. I do not have sound right now. I will rectify this. So continue talking.
So the thing about phones, especially in news headlines, is that they all focus on what's considered what they call a flagship or a high-end phone, or halo phones that represent the affirmation of the company. Whether it's technology, design, style, it's there to be emblematic of the leading edge of what the company can do. Whether it's Samsung, whether it's Huawei, whether it's Apple. The actual situation for a user, though, is most people don't use all those fancy features of the phone. For example, I have a Samsung Galaxy S6, and I bought it because it had a really good a really good camera, and that's what I was looking specifically at. But there's a bunch of features on it that I don't use. I don't use the fingerprint scanner. I don't use the NFC. I don't use a number of features. I do use its faster clock speed because I encrypt my phone, and the faster the phone is, the more seamless the encryption is, because it's on the fly encrypting your data back and forth. But for my wife, I just need a phone that lasts long enough, but still allows her to take conference calls with work. Be able to use Waze or Google Maps to get from point A to point B without getting lost. Pretty reliable GPS. The display needs to be adequate, but it doesn't need to be stellar. It doesn't need to be high-grade calibrated display where you look at it and you can do your photo proofs on it. And she doesn't need a camera that needs to be the top. It just needs to be better than average to take pictures of our kid when she's running around. And the thing is, with the Google Pixel, with the iPhone, if you're buying those phones out of plan and unlocked, they're super expensive. And so I've been targeting around the $400 range for a phone. And I think most people would actually be in the same boat. Maybe not, maybe a little less than $400, maybe $200, because what they really need is something that's reliable day to day, does everything you want. It's nice to have all the features, but if you don't really use them, it's kind of a waste because they're just sitting there and you're not using that. Plus, more often than not, the Google Pixel, especially if you get the flagship one, it's huge. It's tremendously big. If you're a guy who doesn't have a lot of pockets, or just you want to shove it in your pants pocket, not going to fit. And the same thing, like if you want to integrate into your car, you don't want a giant, you don't want.
I'm going to stop you there, though. Yeah. I have the iPhone 7S, the big one, and it fits in my pocket just fine.
Well, you got big pockets. But I carry well, so it's.
I mean, and the one we're talking about, the OnePlus 3T, is also 5.5 inches, so it's not small.
Oh, yeah,
either.
No, I am actually looking at the OnePlus 3T because I think it's actually that sweet spot in terms of functionality, but also price point. Because if you go all the way on either end, if you go all the way on the high end, you get all the awesome features. You go all the way on the low budget end, you skip a lot of stuff. And really, it's kind of like with most products, you want to have the best value. You get the most bang for your buck, right? You can either go for everything top grade and spend more than your paycheck, or you can go super budget, but at the same time you're going to miss out on a bunch of things, whether it's camera quality, the ability.
You start having to make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Lamarr, I think we got
So-
you back, right?
Yeah. So I want and thank you for your patience, and I pressed the wrong button somewhere.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. So I saw one of your questions here. Like, do we really need to be spending $700 on phones? And when you think about the iPhone, when you get the top of line, you're spending $1,000 after the warranty and the tax, and I mean it's not a cheap thing. Now I made the argument very briefly in my video yesterday about how I'm not against people, because some people feel ashamed they use Boost Mobile or they use your Cricket. I was like, look, you're spending less money than me. Congratulations. I mean, you have a nice smartphone that does about all that most people need to do at a $99 price point, or sometimes free, depending on the thing. So I know Roger's saying 400 is a sweet spot, but there has to get a point. I don't know. Apple's probably never will let us get there, but it has to get a point where you get a really darn good phone for $100 to $200, and you are completely satisfied. Yeah. I think that's where we have to go, because this idea of spending $700 to $1,000 every year because you want to keep up, with the Joneses, whatever, it's a little tiring.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up. When I buy a phone, I buy it until I keep using it until it no longer functions.
Sometimes till the company has changed names, as in your old BlackBerry Bold.
Yes, I love that phone, but there was a point where there just weren't the apps I needed to run on the phone in order to get through my life. The same thing, I had a Nexus 4. It was great, but as soon as encryption on the phone became a thing and I really wanted it, boom, it just killed the processor, right? It just would not, it was unbearably slow and non-responsive. I needed a phone that could have real-time encryption on it, and I would notice, right? I would be able to go through Facebook. I would be able to do Google Maps. I would be able to go through my Gmail, and it would not seem like it was slowing down. And so for me, as long as this phone works the way it does, and over this year and next year, I'm going to keep it. At a point, it's the same thing like what people have with PCs. People use their PCs until the stuff they need to get done can no longer be done on that that particular machine. Then it's time to upgrade. And that's
those low-end phones that Lamar's talked about, those track phones, Boost Mobiles,
sure,
those are getting good enough to last longer. Processor speed is no longer as big of a differentiator in phones. It certainly isn't in computers, and it's not as much in phones. RAM is starting to be easier to find in these lower-end phones, and I think that's why we're looking at the OnePlus 3T, because it has gotten to the point where these medium-range phones, the difference between them and the top end is almost always design or marginal features.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think there is we saw this in consumer electronics. I mean, there is a push to get people to upgrade, right? Because that's how the companies make money. And so they keep adding feature after feature, but there comes a law of diminishing returns where people say, well, you know what I have is good enough, or I don't need your, latest solid gold phone from the heavens kind of thing. I can get by with your mid-range model. Yeah. Does everything
Once
I need.
They start making the metal in the phone the top selling point, then we know we've reached anything. Do you think there's something that top end can still offer that would be compelling to make you want to pony up?
Wow, that's an excellent question, and I'm not sure
either. Yeah.
I can't think. I mean, Apple offers name just as much as BMW does, right? Or Mercedes does with the G-Wagon. I believe Mercedes. That's their. Yeah,
that's the one that cuts you off in your car video. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's the good memory, by the way. Yeah, I can't think of anything except experience. I mean, the reason I use Apple is experience. It's not. I can't quantify it on the hardware, because on the hardware, no, this is just as good, if not better, in some respects. So I think you're right. I think the responsible person will get the best budget phone. I think Apple's gonna, if they haven't realized that they did before with the lower end phones. They tried to make this, which was not the right idea. I think they need to get their top of line tiers a little bit down. But
and the rumors are, and we don't know if this is true. It's hard to tell if it's reliable, that the next iPhone is going to be $1,000 unsubsidized.
Right. And that's because
that's that expensive. Yeah.
Right. And that's because they don't want some parts might be a little bit more expensive. So heaven forbid if Apple ever takes a loss of profit.
They make their money on their hardware. They're never going to take a loss. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. And so they pass that on to us, which is ridiculous. But that's Apple.
It's great to see in many ways the advancement of technology has allowed the commodification of features that we used to consider luxury.
Sure.
Like really good cameras, GPS, all these things we take for granted. And I think, it's in the kind of in the middle where the battle is going to be fought. That's where the real money will be made, right? You can have as many high-end phones as you want, but if people can't pony up the cash for it, it's not going to go anywhere. But I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, just saying but the mid-tier is, again, the sweet spot where you can get enough of the features to grab enough people who will pay more than what their basic models will sell for, but it was not that same level of premium. So you still have your Halo product, which is, whatever at the high end, but you have your kind of everyman or everyday product in the middle that people will gravitate to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lamarr.
I was just the last thing I'm looking for, just answer that, and that still may be a software thing, or at least a more powerful phone, is we get to a point where, I'm walking in, put my phone down in the dock or on the table, and it becomes my computer. Then and I know Windows tested that with some of theirs. Didn't work out because I tested it out. It didn't work as well. It was a little glitchy. But that kind of idea where the laptop, the iMac, or whatever the PC, whatever you use, that is your main computer that you're carrying around. That's the only other iteration I see where that makes sense for this to be more expensive.
Yeah, and it's not there. Like you said, Continuum on Windows is probably the closest to being able to do it because it actually works. The Android one is very close, and Apple hasn't come with anything like that yet. Right. So I think this is the year that the top end phones have their last chance to come up with something different. We will see Samsung's best effort with the S8 and apparently another Note. And we definitely, with Apple and their 10-year anniversary, the rumors swirling certainly indicate that they are going to make a big effort to convince you that you need to get in on a new iPhone, that it is not a 3-year upgrade cycle this time around, even if you've just gotten the last iPhone. And it will be very, very curious. I will be very curious to see if they can convince people, and we'll just have to wait and see to find out.
I will. If I may, I want to add one last thing, and I'm going through the chat room. And one thing that hit upon me is that one way for companies to kind of bump people to buy newer models is to just literally drop support. We're not going to update it. We're not going to give you any security patches. If you want any of that, you're going to need to migrate to a newer. Yeah,
platform. I don't really like this argument that companies intentionally undermine their products to do support. I think that a lot of times they may decide that it's not worth the extra effort because they would like to boost sales, but I don't think, from the people I've talked to in the industry, that they actively design obsolescence into these.
I don't think they do.
More often, it's been that obsolescence is just a fact of the improvement of the parts available.
Good point.
I will not disagree with you, but it's definitely one of the things that made me move up is when they stopped.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it is something that's going to make you move up. I don't know if I buy into the conspiracy theory that it's all part of the evil plan of all of the.
Oh no, I'm not saying it is. It is a march of technology, and that's how things work. But that's inevitably one thing that will happen where you're just like, I can't use this phone anymore.
Yeah, except for the TV market, they're evil. They want you to get a new TV every year. Okay.
Although the TVs are the things that I use the longest. They're the ones that I can go the longest with. I think that's why they feel that way, because the TV people are like, damn, as long as their TV keeps working, they're never going to buy another one. We really need to try. 3D? No? Really? 4K? No? HDR? How about HDR? Did that get you?
Right.
I think 8K TVs will be the one where
that'll do it.
Start pushing.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Real quickly, pick of the day and a few messages. We got a pick of the day from Brian. How is it 70 degrees in February, Colorado? Man, I'm almost jealous, and I'm in LA. He says, I recently discovered the 20,000 Hertz podcast. As a music and movie buff and aspiring podcaster radio talent, it scratches an itch about sound production. The latest episode is about audio descriptions for movies and TV shows for the visually impaired or those that simply want to listen to a show or movie. As someone that helps champion the use of screen readers, I thought you and Allison Sheridan might enjoy the episode. So go check it out, 20k.org, and we'll have a link directly to the episode he's talking about. I know Brian Brushwood is a big fan of these too. He listens to it while he goes jogging, where he can listen to a television show essentially and have it described to him.
Oh, nice.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Got an email from an anonymous person who works for an entity that handles FOIA requests, who says, I wish my agency had a web form like the FBI for requests that on fora. Typically, requests are forms, handwritten, copied in black and white, and scanned. The office that handles FOIA is ill-equipped to actually provide the documentation, so pushes it to the relevant bureaus. And since FOIAs are not anyone's focus, it typically goes to a temp worker that doesn't know the office. Once the temp gets it to the right office, ideally, we shove it to an intern who has been with us for 4 months max. Most people in my office rotate out after 2 or 3 years, but most requests are for documents going back 5 or 10 years. Most people in my office minimize printed documentation to prevent accidentally leaving classified material in an insecure area, so there are few files to physically find. And most requests are for digital products that are frequently poorly organized and difficult to search for, since there are no standard storage or file naming conventions. Until just a few months ago, emails were not centrally stored or indexed. In fact, email accounts were capped at a few megabytes, and employees don't keep their accounts when they switch offices, resulting in years of lost documents. As for Justin's frustration with the process, since we rely on temps to coordinate the process, we get flooded with requests, backlogged for months. No one actually conducting the search has FOIA searches as their responsibility, and no one gets promoted for doing a thorough, expeditious job processing these requests. All this said, and I know this is getting long, I am actually a supporter of Freedom of Information Act requests, and I wish Congress would appropriate resources to properly archive and index documents and conduct proper searches. This is a great example of, we like to throw around the conspiracy theory of like, the government's just dragging their heels because they don't want us to get the information. Right. When the reality on the ground is a little more subtle. It's not that anyone is actively ignoring your request. It's that the government doesn't prioritize it.
They don't have the resources, to get it done. The government
is dragging their heels by not prioritizing and funding it. Not trying to deny that, but the individuals are not like ignoring your request and laughing and having pie in the break room instead of looking for your FOIA request. They're just not getting the prioritization to be able to do it.
I would like pie.
Yeah, man, me too.
Same here.
Yeah, I think that's one thing this country can agree on. And finally, Brian Q. Webb says, hey, Tom, and insert knowledgeable co-host with bright personality here. That's you, Lamarr.
Hey.
Just finished listening to Thursday's podcast. It's Friday here in Taipei because I'm in the future. And I recently took my kids to an HTC Vive pop-up in a local tech mall. It cost $50 a ticket, but there were some cool activities set up. Anyway, I wanted you to know they solved the sweat problem on the VR headsets the same way it has been solved in public restrooms. But not for your seat, for your face.
Nice.
They gave masks, which you can see if you click on the link in the show notes or watch the video, that cover your face right where the straps hit your face.
Hey.
So you're not sharing sweat when different people put on the headset.
Those totally look like the face masks they use when you get sick. They just like
with eye around your eyes instead of around your mouth
and the nose. Yeah. Now here's the really important question: how many of us really use the toilet? Once, take the time to put the paper in it. No, you don't have to answer it, but
it's a question I don't know if I want people to answer. To be honest.
But I will say that I'm a very hygienic person. Very hygienic person.
We will leave it there.
And And thinking about how others may answer that may encourage you to use them more in the future.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. Thank you, Brian, for being on the scene report. We thought it would come from Japan, but it came from Taiwan. Fantastic. Again, thanks to Lamarr Wilson for co-hosting today. I really appreciate it, Lamarr. Let folks know where to find more of what you're doing.
Yes, you can find me at youtube.com/Lamarr Wilson, where I am showcaser extraordinaire. I'm not actually extraordinaire, but I show. Oh, thank you. I showcase cool products ranging from tech to food to weird stuff. So got some interesting stuff coming up next week. Just be sure to subscribe and see what we're doing on the channel. It's always fun.
You might get a new Xbox controller. You might get a OnePlus 3T. You might get some new flavors of Oreos. You just never know. Go subscribe.
I have retired from the Oreos. So
oh, really? That's okay.
Yeah,
I shouldn't overpromise.
Don't
YouTube.com/Lamarr Wilson. And of course, Len Peralta not here today, but he still drew Goldie Goldman, the man of gold, who says the only phone I use is one made of solid gold. He is the one that will keep buying those top-end phones till the end of time. There's a disclaimer at the bottom of Len's art that says that Goldie Goldman is not a financial analyst, and you should not rely on him for recommendations of what to purchase.
Solid gold. All right.
You don't want solid gold. It's too soft.
Yeah, gold and yeah, it would get all mushy. Goldie Goldman, you can take a look at this yourself at lenperaltastore.com and even buy a print of Goldie Goldman.
Very gold.
To put in your gold room and decorate. It might go perfectly with that gold clock you have. Should you have a gold clock?
That's one incredibly gaudy house.
I was like, how did you know I had a gold clock? It's amazing.
So many people in the audience are saying that right now.
Right.
lenperaltastore.com. Please go check it out and buy. He's got all kinds of good prints in there. Go shop around. Give Len a little bit of your love. Big thanks to everybody who supports this show and gives us a little bit of their love, including Bruce Cheatwood, Brian Primack, Patrick Cohn. Good to have you back, Patrick. And huge thanks to Riley Briggs, Thor, Michael Wood, and Klaus Havik, who all just raised their pledge and allowed me to cry havoc at patreon.com/DTNS. One last time, please take our survey if you haven't already, bit.ly/DTNS2017. Let us know what you think of the show. We got some questions that'll help us make the show even better than it already is. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website, if you haven't figured it out already, is dailytechnewsshow.com. Have a great weekend, everybody. Back on Monday with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Solid gold, man.
So what happened in the show is I thought you all were able to hear my email pop-ups.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't here,
by the way.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't think I was hearing them here. I thought because sometimes they split the iMac will split the sound,
right?
And so I went in to try to change that. The moment I clicked sound, it made everything blank. So it wasn't my Bluetooth didn't go off. The Bluetooth was rock solid. It was just I pressed something. So
thankfully,
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Thankfully, it was right at the time when Roger was ready to give his opinion.
Oh, that's
real.
Great.
That was it. And maybe I knew that. Maybe I knew.
It's a weird, it's a weird thing because smartphones are now at that point where you're very dependent on the actual speed and various technological upgrades in it, like a PC. But at the same time, it's a consumer electronics product, like a DVD player. You don't really need to upgrade those, which you buy the one, or even a Blu-ray player. So it straddles that weird divide where it's consumer electronics, but it's very dependent on all these new advances in technology.
Yeah,
and that's true in the early years of any product, right? They always advance much faster at the beginning until they get to the point where you're like, okay, we think we really have all the feature sets figured out. There's not much else to do. A VCR is a VCR after a certain point.
Yeah. I remember when the first VCRs didn't have a remote. You just had to go walk up to it. Or the remotes they did have were the ones that had a wire on it.
Yeah.
plug it in.
I have no idea what you all are talking about.
Wait, you don't know the
Oh,
VCR?
it was the pre-DVR.
I'm being
back in
silly.
you used to. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me see. Titles. Top of the heap is Keeping Up with the Phoneses.
It's going to take something really good to unseat that one. I like it.
And then trailing at second is Lamarr in the Car. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
You can't steal my
that's
video title from me. Oh, yes, you can.
Yeah, that's actually Lamar's title of his videos.
Yeah.
Apple pursues wireless charging, marches headlong into 2012. Solid Goldie Goldman.
Mm-hmm.
Samsung's hot new phone. Toilet seat covers for your face. I'm not sure if people. It's funny, but I'm not sure people would get that. There's gold in dem cell phones.
Yeah. Okay.
Now that first one is perfect to me.
Yeah.
Keep up with the
Keeping
phones.
up with the phones is good stuff by OCal.
Not everyone can get it. You know, it's funny. The biggest sales on Beamers aren't the 7 Series. It's their 3 or 5.
Yeah. I'm still car shopping, so I'm looking at the X3 model right now.
I used to be super into cars. Like, I was a total gearhead in high school and college. And now
Really?
the point is, I just want a car that I don't have to worry about. That, to me, is the ultimate luxury. I wanted – people say, like, well, then you get a car that's an appliance. It's not fun to drive. It's like, driving isn't fun anyway.
Driving is not fun. Thank you.
When you're stuck in the freeway, you're stuck in traffic, it's not fun.
You live in the LA area. It's nothing fun about driving.
You just want a car that starts up every morning, and as long as you take it in for its 5,000-mile oil change, whatever, you're good as gold.
Yes. So I feel the same way. I'm just looking for. I really like the crossover vehicles because right now I'm riding something that's really low to the ground, and I'm just tired of being on the ground driving. So I'm just
tired of being on the ground.
Yeah.
Drive the go-kart.
No, it's not that low. It's just just a regular sedan. But I just want something a little higher.
When everybody else has these huge cars, like these big SUVs,
you can't see over them.
And it's like you can't see around them. They eat into your lane. Sometimes if there's 2 of them in a 3-lane road, you can't fit between them because they're lagging over. And out of self-defense, it makes you want to buy one of those just so you can compete on the road. It's horrible.
You understand me. that's
exactly I totally do.
What I deal with here.
I totally like my car, though. I like my sedan. And I'll tell you why. I used to drive a pickup truck. And it was cool, but even with the V8 in it, it's a 305. It was just heavy, and it's turning was crappy. Unless I made a lot of modifications, like I got aftermarket springs and struts and shocks, new rims and all. It's like, no, I'm just gonna stick with a car. It's about 1,000 pounds lighter. It gets great gas mileage. It's very nimble, and this is the thing I've learned: nimbleness is key in California highways.
Definitely. If you're not going to go like compete with a bigger car, you want to go nimble so you can weave in and out of them.
Because it's almost like a Smokey and the Bandit movie. You get 2 tractor trailers and they're both on either side of you, and somehow they seem to converge.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. It's like I gotta get out of here before I get smushed.
Yeah,
that's why I'm sticking with my 15-year-old Toyota.
Every car has to have turbo now.
Well, they all need turbo now. Well, I don't know if they're going to change it, but the EPA regulations increase CAF, the corporate fuel economy, for the entire range of cars. So to do that, they have to make the cars lighter, and putting a V8 in it makes it super heavy.
That's why, when I've been shopping, I've rarely seen any V8s unless it's in a really high end ones now. They do 4-cylinder with turbo. Which was about as fast as, because I think my car right now is a 6-cylinder, and
they have their own issues. I mean, they tend to wear out quicker, right? And you really need to build a strong block because you're putting more pressure into it. Typically, I find the sweet spot being like the Turbo 6, or if they do have a Turbo 4, it's like a higher displacement 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Europe, they tried doing Turbo 3-cylinder cars, but they actually put out more pollution in the exhaust, because you're running them at such high temperature to burn off that it was actually making more particulates like on a diesel.
Yeah. So so speaking of fun, if there's a fun car I test drove that, and I hate to use that word fun, but like it just had some fun features. I was the Kia Sportage was really enjoyable.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was. I drove it only because I was in there. I wanted to see the Nero, the ones on the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That Melissa McCarthy, I think, was driving. So
Yeah,
it was before
the one
that.
when she was doing the ecological.
With the hybrid. So I walked in because I was in the area and I just wanted to try that, and I didn't like it at all. It was too low, and I just didn't like it. But I tried to sport it. I was like, and this is a nice car. And then I went to the X3, and I was like,
It's a much nicer car.
Yeah. So it's $20,000 cheaper than the car that's supposed to feel like it's $20,000 more expensive. And
you like the cheaper car? You thought
I like the cheaper. I know it's not big name recognition here in LA. Drive around with a Kia is not necessarily cool. But
last time I drove a Kia was a rental car, and admittedly, this was a long time ago. It might be close to 10 years ago, but I did not like it. It did not feel good on the road. It was very, very stiff.
I wouldn't need you have a soul.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't particularly like the souls. Yeah.
For me, a fun car is a car that I can climb out of after driving and I'm not tired, fatigued, or angry. Like if the car drove itself, fine.
So an Uber.
My car's a lift.
Right.
I'm going to make that a bumper sticker. My other car's a lift.
That's actually funny.
My other car is a grab taxi.
But having a larger car or truck is always helpful if you're going to like the hardware store, buying furniture.
That's been my problem. That's been my problem trying to go to even IKEA to get some of the simplest things. I just can't fit it in that little sedan, and then my friend who has a Soul fits it in just fine. So it's like I want something just a little bit higher and wider.
My friend who has a Soul. I know. In context, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I should have said Kia Soul, but yeah.
All my other friends are Soul.
Unlike the rest of us who are,
this is the thing. I drive a Camry. It's a 2006 Camry. It was the last year for that body. And it's actually the right proportions that I have managed to shove a lot of unwieldy things from IKEA, from different stores. So like as soon as I put the back seats down, it's super roomy.
Well, see, that's the my car back seats will not go down. That's
if your back seats don't go down in a sedan, that's killer, right? Because we fit a lot of stuff in that 2002 Prius, in that 2001 Saturn that we had, and because the back seats went down.
You say Prius came out out back in 2002?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was the same body model as what, the Yaris, or the.
I had no idea it was a fully electric.
Yeah. No, it was a hybrid. It was
hybrid. Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know it was that old. Wow.
Oh yeah, no, it's a classic car now, right? I own a classic car.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna go to the classic car show with my 2002 Prius.
Just having a flexible car is just awesome. For the longest time, I used to, before the truck, I rolled around in a Volvo station wagon, and that thing was. Remember that thing was super handy. I could cram everything into it. It was awesome.
The last time Eileen Rivera blew me off before I finally got her to date me, I went to a bonfire with Roger in that station wagon.
Yes, we went to go meet up with Patrick Norton at the beach. Man, that car was great. It was just underpowered. That's the only problem. That Volvo was so underpowered.
Wow, I've only owned. My first car was a horrible Dodge car. But Dodge. I always owned like Dodge Neons.
Oh no, those are the worst.
They rode pretty well. They did what they had to do.
The problem is my experience with domestics and foreign cars. So for the longest time, my dad would only buy European for some reason. So we had a Volkswagen Fastback, which basically looked like a stretch out Volkswagen Beetle, like a 71. Then he got the Volvo, which I eventually inherited. The problem with European cars is they charge you through the nose for everything.
I know because I deal with that now.
And and it's the thing is they're not expensive parts. They just because it's a cachet, it's European. I can slap a 50% surcharge on it.
Yeah.
Domestic cars are the opposite, right? They're super cheap parts, but the problem is they're super. A lot of them for the longest time were super cheaply screwed together because GM and Ford and Dodge or Chrysler were so hell bent on cutting costs that they would go through and try to cheap out on a lot of pieces, which invariably led to low reliability. Because, for example, the early Tauruses were notorious for the transmissions giving up after around 60,000. Giving up after around 60,000 miles because someone decided that to save money, they would shave some of the metal on some of the parts in it to reduce the amount of material that was going into the transmission. Problem is, it made the transmission weaker.
You said they used to be, though. So
well, they used to be, and the thing is, well, and possibly not, because of the three brands that Consumer Reports rated as the most reliable, Buick was number 3. So it was Toyota, Lexus, and Buick.
And Toyota, Lexus, same company.
So it's very telling. I think not GM, but the domestic automakers realize that you cannot cut your way to profitability.
Well,
right?
they have a lot of assembly. Domestic automakers have a lot of assembly done outside the country too.
Oh yeah, and well, if you find any domestic cars from the 90s and the 80s, you'll notice that a lot of the same switchgear steering wheels all look the same, even if it's between like a Pontiac and a Buick and a Chevrolet and an Oldsmobile, because they just shared parts.
Yeah,
because that was how they cut costs.
I read something recently that the car with the most American made pieces in it, like the parts are made in America, not just the assembly, was a Honda.
I believe it.
Civic. I think it was
I believe that too. Yeah.
I mean, I think they're starting to build the powertrains, because it used to be that you could build the entire, partially because of U.S. laws. They would have to build the car in the U.S., but they would ship over the transmission and engine, the powertrains. But now I think they've built us some plants in the U.S., partially because of it's just cheaper to do it. Not cheaper, but it makes more cost-effective sense to have it in-house. But also because for specific North American brands like the Toyota Tundra, which is a full-size truck that they don't sell anywhere else outside of Canada and the U.S., you need to build the engines for them since they don't have them, for that
You
model.
mean they don't drive the big Toyota Tundras in Japan? I can't imagine.
Well, when you the largest,
they drive them over the city. It's
the largest car I remember seeing in Japan was an Australian-built Ford. What is it? Explorer. It was like left-hand drive, but it was sitting there in the parking lot. It looked huge. It looked like a Suburban. It looked like a Chevy Suburban surrounded by all these little, Japanese. I forgot what they call them. K cars. KEI.
Um,
the Honda Accord, not the Civic.
Huge, so huge. I think it's just the most bizarre thing, because if you've ever been to Japan, it doesn't really dawn at you at first until you really think about it. But everything is set to scale, so the roads and the buildings look like they're supposed to. But when you're physically there, you actually measure it. It's actually a lot smaller.
Oh, it's just like Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally just like that. Like their garbage truck. I remember there was they were picking up garbage in the neighborhood where I was staying at. It was a garbage truck, looked like a garbage truck, but it was like if you built a garbage truck that was half the size, right? But it built to scale, so it looked exactly the same because it was half the size. And there were like 6 guys hanging off the side of it, and they're going around picking up the garbage and throwing it in the back.
I guess all the buildings at Disneyland are built to 5/8 scale.
Oh, interesting.
So the first floors are normal, but then the rest of the building is 5/8.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's how they make it seem like it's a small world after all.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. It really is about 5/8 of the real world. It's exactly how small the world is after all.
Yes.
All right. Still waiting on SoundCloud to finish some processing, but I think we're done for the stream. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. Thank you again, Lamarr.
You're welcome.
Everyone have a lovely weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Eat some pie.
By tomorrow, I mean Monday.
Bye.